I'm 82 and I regret retiring. 6 retirement mistakes you must avoid. Advice for the elderly. I'm 82 and I regret retiring. 6 retirement mistakes you must avoid. Advice for the elderly. Elderly, senior health, life lessons from the elderly, life lessons from old man, advice from old people, advice for the elderly, wise elders. Elderly wisdom, retirement regrets, mistakes retirees make, life after retirement, senior lifestyle tips, retirement planning advice, how to stay active after retirement. Script, retirement is often painted as a kind of paradise. No more early morning alarms, no more bosses breathing down your neck, and no more worrying about job security or deadlines. Many envision days filled with relaxing strolls, afternoons spent with loved ones, and perhaps the occasional trip to somewhere sunny and serene. It's the picture of total freedom, free of stress, free of responsibility, a reward for decades of hard work. But what if that picture-perfect vision isn't the full story? What if beneath the surface, retiring can lead to regrets no one talks about? Many people experience an unsettling realization. Once they leave their jobs behind, they discover that the endless vacation may not be as fulfilling as they hoped. It's not that retirement is always a mistake. Far from it. Rather, it's that real-life retirement is much more complicated, often involving emotional, social, and financial challenges that can take even the most prepared individuals by surprise. This script explores some of the hidden pitfalls of retirement. It's not meant to discourage anyone from retiring or from taking some well-deserved rest. Instead, it aims to offer a more realistic view of what those golden years can bring, highlighting ways to avoid or address common regrets. Once you understand these potential challenges, you can prepare for them, adjust your mindset, and steer your retirement in a direction that's genuinely rewarding. If you've ever wondered why some retirees end up looking back and wishing they had done things differently, you're not alone. Stick around. And by the time we're through, you'll have a clearer picture of how to navigate this major life transition and how to protect yourself from the regrets that catch so many people off guard. With some foresight and openness to new possibilities, retirement can still be a vibrant chapter in life, no matter when or how you choose to embark on it. For years, many of us imagine retirement as the day we finally make it. No more office drama, no more daily commute, no more performance reviews that spark anxiety. We collect our last paycheck, say goodbye to colleagues, and head off into a future that we're sure will be filled with joy and relaxation. At first, it might feel like an enormous weight has been lifted from your shoulders, but then reality sets in. The novelty of sleeping in every morning begins to fade. The open schedule, which once seemed like a gift, can start to feel disorienting. Without a routine to anchor your days, you might notice a nagging sense that something is missing. With no tasks, no deadlines, and no coworkers to meet, the hours can stretch on in ways you never experienced before. Some retirees actually missed the structure that work provided because it gave them a reason to get up and get moving. Consider Linda, a 69-year-old retired office manager. She spent decades waking up at 5 in the morning, driving to the company she helped manage, and returning home with a sense of purpose. The first few months of retirement felt like heaven. She traveled to see her grandchildren, took up reading, and indulged in slow, lazy mornings. But over time, she realized she was losing a part of herself. She had no major goals, no sense of urgency. Days blurred together, and she started to feel restless. But that wasn't the whole story. Linda also discovered that she had built her entire self-image around being an office manager, a professional, someone other people needed. Once she relinquished that role, an unexpected emptiness crept in. The idea of perfect freedom had morphed into a sense of drifting. This doesn't happen to everyone, but it's a surprisingly common story. Retirement can feel like an endless weekend. And while that may sound wonderful on the surface, human beings often need more structure and purpose than we realize. If this resonates with you, let me know you're here by commenting below. But don't lose hope. Recognizing the reality behind retirement's perfect freedom can help you take action. Maybe that means scheduling meaningful hobbies during the week, committing to volunteer work, or simply planning regular meetups with friends so your days have shape. The key is to understand that freedom alone doesn't necessarily translate to fulfillment. True freedom often comes when you balance relaxation with purpose purpose, ensuring you're still growing, contributing, and staying active in ways that make life deeply satisfying. Losing purpose can be one of the most jarring emotional shifts retirees experience. When you're working, it might feel stressful at times, but there's often a sense of direction. You have tasks to complete, goals to achieve, and people counting on you. Even if you disliked your job, it still offered a framework that kept you mentally engaged and gave you tangible objectives. Once you retire, all of that can vanish overnight. One day, you're organizing a project or finalizing a crucial report. The next, you're waking up with nothing on your to-do list but making coffee and reading the newspaper. At first, that might seem liberating, but after a while, you might catch yourself asking, what am I supposed to do now? What's my role in the world? Take the example of Marcus, a 72-year-old who spent his entire adult life running a small construction business. Every day, he solved real problems, managing employees, handling budgets, and talking to clients. After retiring, he initially welcomed the rest. However, within a few months, he found himself oddly restless and even irritable. He missed the satisfaction that came from running a job site successfully or overcoming daily challenges. He tried picking up hobbies, but none provided the same sense of accomplishment. What Marcus eventually realized was that he needed a new purpose. Retirement wasn't about doing nothing. It was about redirecting his lifelong skills and passions into new avenues. He began volunteering with a local Habitat for Humanity chapter, sharing his construction expertise to help build affordable homes. Overnight, he felt re-energized. Not only was he putting his decades of know-how to good use, but he was also interacting with people who appreciated his insights. That feeling of being needed and contributing to something bigger than himself lifted his spirits more than any vacation could. If you find yourself in a similar situation, remember there's no single path to regaining purpose. Maybe you devote a few hours each week to a cause you care about. Maybe you mentor younger professionals in your old field. Maybe you finally start that passion project. Writing a book, creating art, or taking care of animals. The point is to see retirement not as an end, but as a chance to launch the next chapter of your life, fueled by the experiences and wisdom you've gained over decades. One of the hidden perks of a working life is the built-in social network it provides. Even if you're an introvert or never felt particularly close to coworkers, you likely had daily interaction with other people. You had a reason to leave the house, to engage in conversation, and to observe different viewpoints. Suddenly, once you retire, that daily contact disappears, and you may find yourself more isolated than you expected. In the early stages of retirement, a bit of solitude might feel lovely, especially if you spent years in a noisy office or dealing with the public. But over time, the silence can become deafening. Human beings are social creatures. We thrive on interaction, whether that's a simple good morning in the hallway or sharing a lunch break to talk about the latest news. Once those little moments vanish, you might notice feelings of loneliness or disconnection creeping in. Anthony, a former sales director in his early 70s, lived this scenario. He spent decades driving across state lines, chatting with clients, and leading sales teams. The constant buzz of conversation felt normal, even if some of it was repetitive. After retiring, he savored the peace and quiet at first. Then, the weeks stretched on. Fewer phone calls came in, and many of his old colleagues drifted into their own retirement routines or moved away. Before long, Anthony realized he craved the spark of social contact. This sense of isolation can have real consequences for both mental and physical health. Studies suggest that people with fewer social connections tend to experience higher rates of depression, anxiety, and even cardiac issues. Without the routine social interactions that work provided, it's easy to slip into a pattern of spending most days alone. But that wasn't the end of Anthony's story. Recognizing the problem, he joined a local senior cycling group and signed up for volunteer shifts at a community center. These small changes expanded his social network. He found himself with new friends to share experiences with and discovered new topics to discuss. His overall happiness soared, and his days no longer felt endless. If you're watching and sense your own retirement might lead down a lonely road, take action. You don't need to fill every day with social events, but actively seeking out community groups, clubs, or even part-time work can do wonders for your emotional well-being. A casual coffee meetup once a week or a standing invitation to play cards with neighbors might be enough to keep isolation at bay. The key is to be intentional about it, because your social life won't organize itself once your job is no longer doing that for you. Retirement planning often focuses heavily on money, how much you need to save, how your investments should be allocated, and when to start drawing down your nest egg. Yet, despite all the financial advice out there, countless retirees still find themselves in precarious financial situations. Sometimes it's due to underestimating daily expenses. Other times, it's because unforeseen medical bills or a shift in the economy throws a wrench into their plans. Let's take the story of Cheryl, a 67-year-old who believed she had done everything right. She'd met with financial advisors, opened multiple retirement accounts, and saved diligently. For the first couple of years after leaving her job, she traveled extensively, bought a few extravagant gifts for loved ones, and enjoyed fine dining more often than she used to. It seemed harmless enough. After all, she'd earned her leisure. But life can change quickly. A series of health issues popped up that required frequent doctor visits and some expensive treatments. Her insurance didn't cover everything, and before she knew it, her monthly budget ballooned. To make matters worse, inflation in her area pushed up the cost of necessities. Suddenly, Cheryl felt her financial cushion shrinking at a rate she hadn't anticipated. It can be unsettling to realize that your carefully laid plans might not hold up as well as you hoped. Some retirees even end up taking part-time jobs or side gigs, not just for personal fulfillment, but because they need the extra income. Others cut back drastically on spending, which can be a tough adjustment after you've tasted the freedoms of retirement. The regret often stems from not anticipating that money must sometimes stretch over decades, during which anything can happen. A major home repair, market downturns, or personal medical crises. But that doesn't mean all hope is lost if you're already in retirement or approaching it. The best approach includes regular financial check-ins, being mindful of lifestyle inflation, and setting aside an emergency fund that's robust enough to handle more than just a month or two of expenses. If you haven't retired yet, consider consulting multiple professionals or reading broadly about retirement strategies. Sometimes a second or third opinion can reveal blind spots. If you're already in retirement, it's never too late to reevaluate, adjust your budget, or explore new income streams like consulting, rental properties, or small-scale businesses that don't demand a full-time commitment. Remember, a stable retirement hinges on more than just having enough money in the bank. It's about being prepared to adapt when life inevitably throws you curveballs. That readiness can help you face financial surprises with far less stress, preventing the regrets that come from feeling trapped or unprepared. After all, one of the joys of retirement should be knowing you have the freedom to handle whatever comes your way, financially and otherwise. One of the most underrated consequences of leaving the workforce is the impact it can have on your mental acuity. While you're employed, your brain is constantly stimulated, whether by problem solving, learning new technologies, dealing with clients, or even just remembering tasks for the day. Retirement can put a sudden stop to that steady flow of challenges. At first, you might relish the mental break. No more juggling spreadsheets, client calls, or daily deadlines that make your head spin. But over time, the mind can start to feel less sharp when it's not regularly challenged. You might notice this in small ways, like struggling to find the right word in conversation or forgetting where you put your keys more frequently than before. While some forgetfulness is normal with age, a lack of mental engagement can accelerate this decline. Consider Ellen, a retired teacher who spent over 30 years creating lesson plans, reading student essays, and attending educational workshops. She was used to being a lifelong learner, constantly updating her knowledge to keep up with new teaching methods. After retiring, she took a well-deserved break from anything related to work or academics. Months later, she noticed she was having difficulty focusing while reading novels and even found it harder to keep up with in-depth conversations. She felt uneasy, suspecting she might be losing the sharpness that had always defined her. But this realization spurred her to action. She joined a local book club, started studying a new language online, and even tried learning to play a musical instrument, something she never had time for before. To her relief, her cognitive skills began to rebound, and she felt that spark of curiosity she once had in her teaching days. It wasn't about avoiding relaxation. It was about balancing it with activities that kept her mind active. If you're in retirement or planning to retire soon, think about how you can regularly exercise your brain. It doesn't need to be complicated. Puzzles, board games, reading challenging articles, or engaging in thoughtful discussions can all help. Some retirees find that part-time work or volunteer positions provide just enough mental stimulation to keep them on their toes. Others explore creative pursuits such as painting, writing, or crafting, activities that spark new neural connections. The key is to avoid letting every day become a mental vacation. While rest is important, your brain thrives on novelty and challenge. Even simple habits, like learning a word a day, practicing basic math in your head, or discussing a thought-provoking topic with friends, can help preserve mental clarity. Retirement should be about living life on your terms, and staying mentally strong is crucial for maintaining the sense of independence and vitality that everyone hopes to enjoy in later years. Many of us, whether we realize it or not, wrap our identities around our professions or the roles we play in society. I'm a doctor, someone might say, or I'm an accountant, or I'm an educator. These labels become shorthand for who we are, what we do, and how we contribute to the world. The moment we retire, however, that label can be stripped away, leaving us feeling unmoored. Sue, a longtime project manager, wrestled with this dilemma. She was the go-to person at her company, the one who knew exactly how to organize teams, juggle budgets, and meet deadlines. She was good at her job, and that made her proud. After she retired, whenever people asked her what she did, she stumbled. Sure, she would say, "I'm retired," but part of her felt uncomfortable with that response, as though she'd lost her place in the world. This crisis of identity can be deeply unsettling. Work not only provides financial stability, but also offers a community of colleagues, responsibilities, and a daily sense of accomplishment. Retirement can feel like a sudden step into obscurity. No more organizational charts listing your name, no more official duties, no more consistent recognition for a job well done. Even family members who once asked for your professional advice might move on to other sources or simply stop seeing you as an expert. Yet this identity crisis doesn't have to be permanent. The key lies in discovering a new sense of self, one that isn't tied strictly to a job title. Some retirees channel their professional skills into consulting or mentorship roles, maintaining a link to the industry they left behind, but with less stress. Others delve into passions they never had time for before, finding a fresh identity as a painter, gardener, community leader, or devoted grandparent who brings joy and wisdom to family gatherings. If you're feeling the pang of losing a title that once defined you, remind yourself that your worth isn't confined to your old job. You've accumulated experiences, knowledge, and perspectives that can continue to shape your identity in extraordinary ways. Retirement can be a launching pad to become the person you always wanted to be, but never had the chance to explore. It's an invitation to redefine yourself on your own terms without external pressures dictating who you are. While challenging at times, it can ultimately lead to a more authentic sense of self than any professional label could ever offer. Time might be the most precious currency of all, and how we spend it can lead to great satisfaction or profound regret. During the working years, you might daydream about the time you'll finally have once you retire, imagining all the projects, hobbies, and travels you'll embark on. Then, when retirement arrives, it's shockingly easy to let days or even years slip by without accomplishing the things you once longed to do. Some retirees look back and realize they've spent far too many hours parked in front of the television or mindlessly scrolling through their phones. Others had grand visions, writing a memoir, seeing exotic parts of the world, or learning a new craft, but kept putting these dreams off. They assumed they would get around to it eventually, only to discover that health concerns or family obligations made those dreams harder and harder to achieve as time went on. Tony, for instance, spent decades in a corporate setting, always telling himself he'd learn how to sail once he retired. He pictured himself out on the water, navigating waves under the open sky. But the first few years of his retirement were spent relaxing, which mostly meant watching TV and catching up on sleep. By the time he got serious about sailing, he faced mobility issues that made it less feasible. He still loves the sea, but he regrets not pursuing his passion sooner, when he was physically more capable. This regret often leads to self-blame, which only makes it more painful. Yet, it's never truly too late to start living intentionally. The key is to remain conscious of how you spend your days. Set small goals, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly, and track your progress. If you've always wanted to explore the great outdoors, start by visiting nearby parks. If you plan to write a family history, block out an hour each day to jot down memories. The steps don't have to be dramatic, but consistent action helps ensure you won't look back with regret. Retirement can be incredibly liberating if you treat time as a gift rather than an endless resource. Even taking a few hours a week to learn a new skill or improve a relationship can yield a sense of accomplishment that transforms your perspective. Life is finite, and knowing that can spur you to spend your retirement years doing the things that truly matter, whether that's nurturing friendships, volunteering in the community, or finally diving into the hobbies that once only lived in your daydreams. Realizing that retirement isn't an automatic ticket to joy can be unsettling, but there are strategies that can make all the difference in shaping a meaningful, regret-free chapter of life. Set new goals. Treat retirement like a new career. Only this time, you get to choose what to pursue. Maybe you focus on health goals, like walking 3 miles every morning, or perhaps you decide to learn a new language. Having something to aim for helps fill the void left by a traditional job. Stay socially active. Actively seek new social circles if your old ones are fading. Join clubs, volunteer, or sign up for local courses. Regular human interaction isn't just a nicety. It's a core part of staying emotionally healthy. Plan financially with flexibility. Don't assume your expenses will remain the same throughout retirement. Keep a buffer for unexpected costs and reassess your budget annually. If you notice shortfalls, consider part-time work or alternative income streams. Mentally stimulate yourself. Treat your brain like a muscle that needs regular exercise. This could be reading challenging books, doing puzzles, or learning new skills. Anything that keeps your mind engaged and resilient. Redefine your identity. Embrace the freedom to become whoever you want in this new phase of life. If you loved your professional identity, consider ways to keep it alive through volunteering or mentorship. If you're ready for a change, see retirement as an opportunity to explore a different aspect of yourself. Manage your time intentionally. Keep track of how you spend your days. Even a simple journal can highlight areas where you might be wasting time. Once you see the patterns, you can adjust and make sure you're doing activities that align with your deeper goals. By keeping these strategies in mind, you can transform retirement from a potential pitfall into a rewarding era filled with growth, community, and personal satisfaction. It takes effort and awareness, but the payoff can be immense. Retirement isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. While some individuals seamlessly transition into a fulfilling new routine, others find themselves grappling with regret, restlessness, or a sense of having lost their way. The good news is that recognizing these common pitfalls is often the first step toward making choices that lead to a more balanced and gratifying life post-career. If there's one overarching lesson here, it's that retirement demands as much intentionality as any other major phase of life. Just as you planned your finances, you might also need to plan your daily routines, your social connections, and your ongoing personal development. Seeing retirement as an ending can limit your sense of possibility. Seeing it as a new beginning can inspire you to explore uncharted avenues and unearth passions you never knew you had. When you catch yourself daydreaming about a perfect retirement, remember that no chapter of life is without challenges. The idea of endless leisure sounds wonderful, but human beings typically crave purpose, connection, and growth. Striking the right balance between relaxation and engagement can be the key to avoiding those regrets that plague so many. Now, I'd love to hear your perspective. Which of these insights resonated most strongly with you? What steps will you take, or are you already taking, to shape a retirement that's meaningful and fulfilling? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experiences and wisdom could spark an idea that helps someone else navigate this life transition with fewer regrets. And as always, if you found any part of this script valuable, consider leaving a like or letting others know about it. The more we share these perspectives, the more we can learn from each other, ensuring that everyone has a better chance at retiring with true satisfaction rather than lingering regrets. Thank you for spending your time here, and may your next chapter be filled with purpose, connection, and the kind of freedom that truly enriches your life.